I have this picture when I was like 6 years old with my two older brothers, and I'm in a chef get up, I have an apron, and we're at like a family gathering, and I'm cooking with my dad. It's been what I've always wanted to do, and I love every part of cooking. I love washing dishes, I love setting the table, I love engaging with the guests and like portraying or like engulfing them with my love of cooking. I think it comes from my childhood, the passion for the ingredients and like choosing them wisely comes from growing up in an Italian home where my father cared about those things. He and his father, so my papa and him, ran old world Italian delis all over LA. And one of the big parts of their business was importing ingredients. And so from an early age, I understood the difference between an Italian tomato and not an Italian tomato, we'll just say that. And it does make a big difference. My wife and I actually just went to Milan this year, and I was joking with her one night after being there for like 3 days. I'm like, I don't think the chefs are better here. They're talented, but the ingredients are different here. And they're at an advantage from the get-go because of those ingredients. Growing up in an Italian home, food was our entire identity. My mom and dad actually met in the restaurant. My mom was a waitress, my dad owned the restaurants. And so their love story started in the restaurant. And then many, many years later, my love story also started. I'm married to a chef. And so cooking isn't a thing I do for work. It's what I am as a person. And growing up with 4 other brothers, there was 5 of us. Food was every Sunday, it was during the week, and it wasn't just my dad, it was my mom cooking home-cooked meals every morning for breakfast. And I didn't realize how big of an impact that made in my life, but it's the way I express love is through food. And now I get to do that with my kids. And I didn't really understand that until I got this full circle moment as an adult and seeing my clients happy from the food that we're cooking. And the way I express love is through cooking. And it's become such an incredible experience throughout the years to see that from the restaurant to the private business that we do to now the national business where we're shipping product across the country and people are able to add just that little bit of flavor through salt, and it changes the way they look at cooking and it makes it fun for them, which is what it is for me. It's actually put on my skin. My tattoos are my love story with food. So I remember early on as a kid, even in a diaper, sitting up on the counter, there's pictures of this, and we would eat artichokes and we would dip them in mayonnaise. And I didn't realize how weird that kind of was until I was older. So I've tattooed artichokes on my wrist because it was my first interaction or memory with this core identity of how food, family, and love all come together. And then that, as I got older, one of the first things my nonna taught us how to cook was the tomato sauce. Tomato sauce in an Italian home is like recipe number 1. And so I have tomatoes tattooed on my arm representing this memory of once you understand the tomato sauce, then you can progress into other recipes. And so, yeah, again, like my identity is food and it comes from love. Yeah. I have always believed that the right ingredients change everything about the recipe, and sourcing those is so important. And so living in Utah, being able to have access to seasonal ingredients is one of the greatest parts about living here because the ingredients change. In San Diego, a lot of things are available all the time, and so you kind of get complacent because they're just available. What I love about Salt Lake City and Utah in general is that we have all 4 seasons, and so every season I have to adapt to the right ingredients and change the menu so that we're utilizing the ingredients at the peak of their freshness. And it's a challenge. Like, it's one of the fun parts about being a chef is having that challenge of, staying up with the trends and the ingredients. I mean, there's so many things I love about being a chef, but the flip side of being a chef in the current world that we live in is chefs are like celebrities. I mean, they really are kind of rock stars right now, and they're having this moment. And so in our line of work, you can never turn it off. And so it does get hard at times. We have private clients that we live with for weeks on end, and we're cooking breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And you gotta you always got to have it turned on. And so I love that, but it does become a challenge. I wouldn't say that I don't like, that's not what I don't like about being a chef. It's just that is a challenge to always be performing at the highest level of hospitality, because the food is just one element. Really, that love translates into hospitality. Yeah, my wife and I actually joke about it because not to like pat myself on the back, but not all chefs have it. And so those ones that do have that element of performing, and I think that's what's transitioned in the last couple of years, is like traditionally chefs were in the back, they were back of house, and they just stayed back there and they made the food, and the person you were interacting with was your server or the host or the front of house manager. And now the chefs are coming out to the table, they're interacting. And so those chefs that have really captured the love of hospitality, like I think I have, I want that face-to-face interaction. I don't want to be back in the kitchen. I want to come out and I want to see how my food made you feel in any given scenario. Yeah, I honestly, is a great question, because I didn't know I had rituals. Like rituals, growing up in an Italian home, we're very superstitious. My brothers are soccer players and they have like rituals before they go out onto the field. And it wasn't until I opened the restaurant that I realized that I had these rituals that I did as well before service. And so one of mine is I go to my station and I lay all my knives out. I check them for sharpness. I actually make my staff steam my apron before service every night. I just like presenting myself in a certain way. Cleanliness is like huge to me. And all of my chefs in my restaurant did this. And like I said, I didn't realize it because they all came from other restaurants, and they didn't realize that there was like a level of perfection, not only in the food, but in your appearance that we wanted to portray to our guests. And so this ritual of like, even the way I fold my towels and I put them on my apron, just little things that like kind of gear you up. Chefs are childish, like there's no doubt about it. We are immature. We need that gratification, instant gratification. And so going into service every night is also feels like you're like amping up for war. Like there's this adrenaline rush that comes with it. You have 400 or 500 people that have chose to come to your place tonight. And so it's like you're suiting up. You're going to battle, and you become really close friends. We were talking earlier about this historic thing that's happened in the food industry where you pass on a spoon or a knife as you go to different places, and you become a family. Like the restaurant industry, unlike any industry I know of, we are family. We sit down before service and eat dinner together. It's called family meal. And we spend so much time together that you really become a family. And some of the best times of my life were in the restaurant with my team. Yeah, it's a super good question. I think that every chef kind of tackles this differently, like what separates them from the rest. And for me, it's always about making it simple so the ingredients speak for themselves. So most of my recipes, surprisingly or not, are less than 10 ingredients, because I want each ingredient to play such an important role in why it's there. We don't just throw things in to have more ingredients. And so simplifying it has always been a part of my identity through the cafes, through the restaurant, through the private industry, and then keeping it very clean, meaning you don't need to add all these fats and oils and sugars to balance. Because at the end of the day, a chef is just trying to create a symphony of flavor, and they got to have some kind of sweet element, some kind of acidic element, some kind of salt, and some kind of fat. And once you learn how to play with those, that's like your tools, and balancing that is really the art of a good chef. So your sense of smell in the kitchen is so incredibly important. I love being a chef because it's one of the only art forms that I know of that I have to perform both with my nose, with my mouth, and actually with my ears. And sometimes with my touch, with hands. And you're eating that food before you even put it in your mouth. You're looking at it, you're smelling it. It creates a moment for you to experience that dish. We had this really incredible experience earlier this year in Italy. where these chefs that I look up to, like Michael Jordan, they're like the pinnacle of Italian cooking, but even they're pushing the envelope across the world in chefing. And he does a chef's tasting menu. So it's his rendition of what he's feeling in this moment, typically about 10 courses. And I was so blown away at one of his courses was an experience with an aroma. So he brought out this incredible dish, and then the server came behind and sprayed this smell because he wanted you to feel this moment that he was trying to portray through his plate. And one of the elements that he wanted to capture was this aroma. And there can be bad aromas and good aromas. And it's our job to make sure you balance those things so that the guests really understand what symphony you're trying to put out there. Yeah, if I was still cooking like consistently, that would be something that I would make such a huge part of what we're doing. Because when we work as intimately as we do for the last 10 years with these clients, and these are A-list celebrities, you know, Forbes 100, like billionaire type people, they care about the way their house smells when you're cooking. And so Pura and this aroma therapy, this open air concept really hit home for me because there's so many times where our clients will come to us and they'll be like, hey, I want it to smell like bacon in the morning when I wake up, but around 11 o'clock, I no longer want my house to smell like bacon. And it's a challenge to figure that out. Or, hey, I really want your Nona's tomato sauce and that garlic and onion smell to engulf the entire house. But when dessert comes out, I would really, really love for it not to smell like your Nona's sauce anymore. And so that challenge has always been there. And this, honestly, I'm not trying to sales pitch you, but this product helps solve that problem that we've never been able to do. And in the restaurant industry, it's a little different. But when you're in the private sector, where you're in their home or on their yacht, you really have got to play to that ability to change those smells through each course. So we live in a house where we have very tall ceilings. When we cook in here, that smell goes right up and into my primary bedroom, which is right above me. And so my wife does not do well with smells. And obviously our clothes are up there. And so the first night we did BLTs with the product and there was no smell. And if you could tell, our hood like does its best, but baby, she works hard and she is not pulling out the smell of smoked applewood smoked bacon. Like it's just not happening. And the first time we used it, she's like, what in the world? Like it killed everything. And I don't know, that's why I asked you when you first got here if it was based on like a square footage or like a space, because this is such a big space, which is why it's challenging to keep those smells down here. But we put it right outside the kitchen, like in this living room area, and it instantly killed the smell. Nothing in the bedroom at all.
Were you pretty surprised?
Honestly, I was shocked. Because it's a challenge. Like that's a serious smell. That smell of like smoked meats is just a hard smell to remove. I think fish is another one, but like bacon is what you want to smell when you wake up. But after that, like you don't want to keep smelling like smoked bacon. So it was very surprising how quickly it worked in such a big space.
I gotta know if you were skeptical.
Yeah, I was definitely skeptical. Mainly because the product's so little. Like how does that little thing that just plugs into the wall, how does that combat such an intense smell that we've tried for years? I would have thought like maybe one of those bigger like diffuser type things maybe could do it. Honestly, I didn't know the product existed. That I don't know the science behind it, but like it's not masking the smell, it's combating the smell. It's removing it, which is a different element because you can combat smell with candles or other scents, but this is like actually fighting it. It's removing it, which is pretty unique. I think what surprised me so much is this product, this open air, isn't just masking the smell, it's actually combating. It's removing the smell, which is so different than anything we've ever used in the kitchen before. I won't name names, but I'm going tomorrow to a very incredible home who the owner is very sensitive to smells. We've worked for them for 11 years, and smell, I mean, you can walk throughout her house and she has little coffee bags everywhere because smell to her is just like, it can be really good, but she also wants it removed once you're done. And I mentioned it to her, and we're gonna bring it with us to the Madison home in Palm Springs, and she's so excited because it really bothers her. She loves good food. She loves the smell of good food, but she does not want it to linger. And when I first used this, I thought of her instantly. Text her. I'm like, you have no idea what's coming. So yeah, pumped. Well, I think when I recommend it to people, it's just a natural thing. People know I cook. They've known I've cooked for years, and smells are very potent in the type of cook. I mean, I don't cook without garlic or onion. Like, it's not optional. Like, it is going in. It is a part of the recipe. It's gonna smell, and it's gonna smell incredibly good, but your product is just so easy. This open air Pura product removes that smell when you're done wanting that smell. And so it just felt really natural. I mean, I called my brothers up. I'm like, have you seen this? I mean, I've loved Pura before you guys called me. So like, I'm Pura for life. Like, you didn't have to sell me on it. Finally, something. Like, we need to tell everyone about this. How do not more people know? I was gonna tell you too. The flavor I'm running right now, like, we're almost out because we just run it nonstop because my wife just loves good smell. But one of my favorite restaurants is Little India in American Fork. Super incredible family, just amazing. And the food is better the next day, but it smells so strong the next day. And my kids of chefs, I don't know why they do this, but the first thing they want is Indian at 9 o'clock in the morning. So I'm waking up to the smell of microwaved Indian. So we plug this in, and no, I'm not kidding you, did not smell it the next morning. And I mean, my wife and I wear certain outfits to that restaurant because we don't want the food to I mean, it's a beautiful smell, and the food is tikka masala is one of my favorite dishes, but like, I don't want to smell like tikka masala the next day. And so we joked about it because my little boy, who's 12, he wakes up at like 7 a.m. and he's got an itch for that Indian, and he put it in the microwave, and this was running like unknown to him, and I woke up and didn't smell it. I'm like, I found his bowl in the sink. I'm like, when did you have Indian? This morning. I'm like, oh my gosh, our house doesn't smell like Indian. So it's not just killing the smell of onion and garlic and fish and smoked bacon. I mean, it's combating just about any flavor or smell that I know of that we've tested it on in our kitchen.
So
I started washing dishes illegally at 13 and a half. And I washed dishes for 2.5 years straight. Every Friday and Saturday night, all my friends would go out and hang out. And I was like, dude, I'm making money. I'm gonna go wash the dishes, learn some cuss words in Spanish. And it's like a core memory. When we had our restaurant, we were having a tough night and our dishwasher walked out, and I walked back and just started washing dishes, and I love it. And it chokes me up because I had these very talented chefs who were so beside themselves that the chef would go into the dish pit and wash dishes. But like, that's core memory I was 13 and a half years old. Well, I could barely reach the handle on the dish machine because I just love it. And I don't just love the high-end luxury aspect of what I do. I love cleaning the floors. I love the cleanliness. I love washing dishes. I love the interaction with the people. You got to love it that much to do it for, it's 20 years now. I've been in the industry in some capacity. I'm grateful to be on the back end of it. My business now is much more scalable. I can bring that love and joy for cooking to a bigger audience, which I love. But cooking on Sundays is still a good time with the family for sure. Yeah. We have had the opportunity to cook for celebrities, athletes, lots and lots of people that, when I was 13 years washing dishes. I never in a million years thought I would have the opportunity to cook for them. One of the coolest stories, I think, was a few years ago at Sundance Film Festival. We got hired to do this event, and you always know it's gonna be like a pretty big person with pretty big status if going into it they won't tell you who the client is and they need you to sign NDAs. You're like, okay, this is gonna be a different level. And so my wife and I kind of fled through who the lineups were coming to Sundance that year. Couldn't figure out who it was. Show up, and we were teaming up with a couple chefs from Las Vegas, and walk in, and I see DJ Marshmallow's helmet sitting on the kitchen counter. I'm like, first of all, if his helmet's here, means he's not here with his helmet. Like we could know who he is, because it's a pretty big deal. Like, know who's behind the helmet. So anyway, we do this incredible dinner. The last course was actually handmade marshmallows that were shaped like his helmet. And I can't tell you what I know, but we were able to like cook for him and his friends, and then go and see the show later that night. It was a really cool event. He actually then hosted us back in Las Vegas at his residency. Cooking for us is about relationships. Food for me is about relationships. It's about my love for what I do put in front of you in an art form that is known as food. And so we have found in the years that we've cooked that clients become friends, they become family, and we've been blessed enough to keep these friends for many years. And every time they're in Utah or close enough that we can go and interact with them, cook for them, we get that call back, and it's really rewarding to see, you know, that joy that comes through food. Being in the industry for so long, you see a lot, and we've been so blessed, my wife and I, to cook for the last 4 presidents of the United States, professional athletes like Kevin Durant and James Harden, to celebrities like Shaun White, the Kardashians, Victoria's Secret models, musicians like Marshmello, DJ David Guetta. And all in all, the beauty of what we do is that when you sit down at a table, it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter where you came from. They just want to feel love through food, and we get to create that for them. And you see that everyone's kind of the same. It doesn't matter if you have millions of dollars or if you're a struggling family trying to make it through college. Everyone cares about good tasting food, and I'm able to like bring that to them. Listen, I count myself very lucky. I think there are a lot of people that work because they got to make a living for their family, and there's something honorable about that, and I love them for that. But I have been able to turn something that I loved into a way to also make money. And so it's cliche, but like I don't view what I do as work. It's so much fun. And there's hard days, like, don't get it wrong. 8 days on a boat with 20 guys cooking breakfast, lunch, dinner, like that gets old for sure. But give me 2 days off in Las Vegas and I'm ready to go again. Like I will keep doing this until I can't walk, because I just love it. I love food and I love what it does for people. Honestly, if I could choose one scent that I love of the open air products, it's the citrus leaves, because I have just always loved citrus and what it does to balance flavors in cooking. And that aroma or smell is so familiar to me. So it's for sure my favorite one. One thing I love about Pura as a chef is that aromas are so important in a good way and in a bad way. And Pura allows you to control that. I can make things smell like garlic and onion when I want them to, and I can make that smell go away with open air. I'm Chef Marco Niccoli. Welcome to my kitchen. I've been in the industry for 20 years, done everything from private chefing to the restaurants to cafes to now a consumable product that I can ship worldwide, so that people can really understand my love for cooking, and that food and cooking is supposed to be simple. It's supposed to be enjoyable, and you're supposed to do it with your friends and family and loved ones. Chef Marco Niccoli, welcome to my kitchen. I've been in the industry for 20 years. I've cooked for celebrities, presidents, been in the restaurant industry, cafes, and now I get to do something where I can spread the love of cooking across the world to everyone. Because at the end of the day, food and cooking for me is about bringing your loved ones together around a table. But at the end of the day, food is about bringing your loved ones together around a table.